Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Psicast. I am your host, Robert Marcy. I'm joined here with Bill Montana and a very special guest, Tom Jorgenson. Say hello, guys.
Hey, this is Bill Montana.
Howdy, howdy. Good to be here.
And that's Tom Jorgenson. So,
yeah.
Let me give you a bit. Some of you guys probably know Tom. Some of you don't. This is mainly for both of you, actually. Tom's been doing this stuff in one form or another since 1961, which predates most of us. In 1961, he was published in Abbott's Tops magazine, the reinvention of the Orvette Master Move, which was a half-page vertical cartoon. Also in 61, Sid Lorraine's Chatter column, bluing for the inside of the achievement box to show it empty in the plastic rice bowls. In the 62 annual for Tops, the Esper Unlimited, he published his Lead Sheet Blindfold Act, and he has that comment placed in the Nelson Enterprises catalog from 1962. On page 52 at the bottom is the prediction pin use. In 63, Stairway to Genesee Street. Genesee's book of poetry, posted out of Illinois. In 1973, he releases one of his monumental works, Seeing Past Lives, which is outstanding. In 83, he was one of the illustrators for the Berg book. You can I think, still available. Some copies are still floating around. In 91, he published the seminal New Georgia Magnet Act, which I absolutely adore. The New Bottle Book from Nielsen Magic. He was the illustrator. and contributed 13 new items to that. In 93, the Slade Fleshman work, The Charlatan's Handbook, he was your illustrator. The Close-Up Magic of Aldo Combini, he was an illustrator for that. Did a massive amount of work from 1995 to 2001 for the Lulu Society. Some of those effects will maybe come out in the new book. We'll get into some of that later in the interview. In 1997, was the illustrator for Martin Gardner's Science Magic, a book I know which most of you own. Also in 97, Creating Successful Craft Areas by M.L. Gurjan?
Gurjan, huh?
Gurjan, yeah. Then I worked on Charles Romero's The Art of Deception, chapter on illustration, work, and magic. Various issues of the Magic magazine. Now, here's some highlights from the Magic magazine. Quick release DIY handcuffs. A Conjunction of Necessities, which was a short story that appeared in April 2001. Magic magazines of the Second Millennium. Father Stephan and A. Fernandez chapter listings. And let's move on to the Think Pink supplement, which you were contributor, publisher, and limited edition flapwork, three-finger open Mintox. Assume that has something to do with Boris Mintox?
Ram Pink Center there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. 2005, you released the Satan's Bits, the 7-galley notepad. It was pretty innocent, but I think anybody else doing any actual notepad in the 7-galley form. Balls Ahoy. Gardner's Corner. That was in the Magic magazine for about 4 years. You were the illustrating of most of the Martin Gardner effects he was publishing there. And then you're going to be doing Compendium 1. That's going to have Pop, Shaman, the Balloon Pin, Sid Bergeson's Repo. I'm not even going to try the Grantini opener.
That one was a fair trick for a platform stage, mentalism.
Okay.
For kids.
Pimpin' Granny, Grandma's Glasses, and more. You did some work with Doug Diamond's Dictionary. You made some changes to the R2D2. 2012, White Lines and Laughter, cartoons by you, or by Ron Jogers, and you edited and published that one. The Dalu Casket in 2014, a New Tarot. Now, there's several editions of the New Tarot out.
Right? Say that again?
There's several editions of the New Tarot.
Of the New Tarot?
Yeah.
Probably, no. There's probably one, there might be a couple of covers or something, but I usually print things in such small numbers that if I go back and need some more, I'll redo another cover or another way to lay it out or something. So, but it's the same. The New Tarot is the same booklet.
Okay, I got like 3 different color versions of it. But,
yeah.
Okay. I collect your work. 2015, The Secrets of Vedavanavan. The Leverage Chair. Yeah, The Leverage Chair, Yankee Poker, Focus Playing. And in 2017, you're trying to release the Platform Psyche, which sounds interesting. And the Journey to Aquarius, the Past Lives thing, just came out.
Oh, yeah.
And that brings us up to kind of current, not really, but kind of. Just a massive, massive amount of work over the years. So the question is, where do we begin?
Good question. I grew up in outside of Chicago in Illinois, small town, 500 people, 300 people. Went to high school there, got interested in magic in high school. Ordered through Abbott's, all my spending money went to Magic Inc. and Abbott's and the Tannins when they had their heyday back then. And
you talking about Tannins in New York when you had to go up the steps and there's a little shady little room up there? Yeah.
Let me say it again.
Tannins when you had to go up the steps and go to the magic store that was upstairs.
No, I didn't go to Tannins. Magic Inc. was upstairs in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tannins, I think, was New York. Was that the one you were talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of a shady little thing.
Yeah,
going
they
on
had a catalog, a fantastic catalog, hardbound, that came out like every 3 years. It was you just lived out of. And you got your education out of those catalogs because they were all described as to how the trick wasn't done. So if you got a single trick that was done in 5 different methods, and you could parse out exactly how any of them were done, So you got your basic magic education just by figuring out how the tricks were done from the catalog descriptions.
Okay, now did you actually go to the store in Magic Inc.?
The Magic Inc. Was a store in Chicago. See, now my mind is going blank. What's his name with the puppet?
J. Marshall.
J. Marshall, yeah. And they were downtown for a while, and then they moved out from downtown.
Now, do you have any stories about...
I went to the Art Institute for a while in high school, and I would go take the classes there and then buzz over to the magic stores and stuff every time. And that was back when you could get, a really good magic book for hardbound for $6,
Yeah. Back in the day. Do you have any stories about hanging out at Magic Inc.?
No, because I was, other than the fact that no, I don't. I would take the train in, so I didn't really hang out. I had to make it back. So I would buzz there and take the bus and get over there and buy my stuff and get my bag of stuff and head back and head home. And that would generally be on a Saturday, And Francis was always there, always pleasant. Jay was there, and there's Sandy, somebody, and I forget the names, but it was just, that was the only magic that I knew. So, and there was another magic store downtown Chicago on the street that I forgotten. It was kind of that was great. So that was when you had one gaff and one gimmick, and you made that sucker play for a long time before you got another one, you know. And then I started doing regular school shows back when I was, you know, a kid, and then I loved mentalism by then. My father had every fate magazine in the history of man, and I would read all of those. He believed everything. I believed most everything. So then after college, I pretty much put it away for a good long time. I picked up psychic reading and tarot and stuff in the mid-'60s, and did tarot in the mid-'60s and through my military, and then in the early and mid-'70s. They had a good period of time in Chicago where the McCormick place would have once a month a big blowout in psychic readers and a big psychic fair, and it was back when Geller was really popular, and psychic fairs were just getting real big. People were realizing they could make big money on psychic fairs. So I would read those in a McCormick place for a couple of years on tarot as a tarot reader. And then I did, after the McCormick place, there was other groups who would have routes, and they would show up at Holiday Inns, and they would have a Holiday Inn, every week. They'd be at a different Holiday Inn. You'd be part of their coterie that they'd invite you in. McCormick place was amazing because you'd go in there and there'd be maybe 80 readers, at least.
That was back in the day.
Maybe 100. It was huge. And the people lined up, hundreds of people lined up just to get in the door at the get-go. They'd open the doors and the people would flow through, and they'd scurry to their favorite readers and sign up on the log as soon as they can, and spend the rest of the day just getting readings from everybody. It's amazing.
Now, by any chance, do you remember what tarot decks you were using back then?
I've only used the weight deck. That's the one I learned, and that's the one I've just always stayed with. And I've tried other decks, and I never got any better, with them. I think one that's really usable for people is have you ever seen the Housewives Tarot?
Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant because it gives you new ways of saying things that apply to people, and that's half the cue right there. Is finding interesting ways to say what you're going to say. So I thought that was good, but again, I never used that. I just ran through and picked up some of the aspects of it.
Yeah, I was always wondering because, like in different generations, you see like different decks becoming extremely popular. Yeah.
And I think maybe that's because maybe they speak to that generation, And I think you got a good point because that Housewives Tarot certainly spoke to a certain generation, and it's kind of accurately spoke to them.
Yeah, and I know a lot of the guys now would be asking that, probably wondering that same question I just asked because, there's a big debate right now on, what tarot deck to use again. So. Yeah,
I think, I'm the person that to use the one that you like. Whatever you're most effective at, that's the one you use. It's beyond that, you can call all the reasons you want in the world, and it boils down to you're comfortable with that, you're better with that, do that, you use that, that and you're hooked. I did tarot readings as an entertainment when out here in California when in the 80s too. For banquets, and conventions, and back in the heydays, back when everybody had money. So I went out as a table reader. And then
what was it like back then?
I always approached tarot from a true believer's aspect because I don't care why it works. If I get good at it, I don't necessarily want to know how it works or why or anything else. If it's my back brain working through, telling my front brain what to say, that's fine too. If there's nothing to it, that's fine too, as long as I'm accurate and people like it. So I always treated it as if I was an interpreter of this thing, tarot. That's all I was with an interpreter. It had nothing to do with anything. All I have to do is be clean and disassociated and tell the person what the tarot wanted them to know. So, that's a good out, because if you miss on something, it's, you don't quite understand what they're saying. My hook was always that I would record the readings back in McCormick Place. Everybody had kind of a hook to get people to come to them. One guy read roses. He would bring in 3 big dozen roses, big bouquets, and the person would pick a rose, and then he would examine the leaves and the thorns and the this and the that and give him a reading. One little Russian gal, she came in late to the scene, but she would sit there and she'd crack an egg in a glass, and she'd watch it swirl around, and then she'd read the swirls. So everybody kind of had their own little thing going on, and mine was that I recorded stuff, and then I gave them the tape. It was a tape deck period, and I gave them the recording so they could play it later on their little tape decks, and it worked great. Just naturally, because if they got a recording of an accurate reading, they're going to show everybody and play everybody, and as a general reader, if you're inaccurate in reading in a psychic affair, some people you just can't read. There's no way you can't read them. But those people go away, whether they've got a recording of the reading or not. They go away. They never come back. So gradually, by recording your readings, you're collecting a bunch of people who have had accurate readings who want to come back to you. So it helps build your clientele when you go, from place to place or month to month as you're in the same place. It helps build your loyal clientele, and they're all people that you're good at reading.
Now, were you one of the first to start? You were one of the first to start doing that, right?
I don't know that I was. I don't know that anybody else at McCormick Place. No, nobody at McCormick Place recorded readings at all. So if I was the first, certainly in Chicago, to start doing that at the psychic fairs.
Okay, because by the late '80s, that was kind of a thing. A lot of the recordings, a lot of the sessions were being recorded.
Really? It was probably by the late 80s, it was probably a lot easier because...
Yeah, the technology was a little better, but... Yeah,
they would have this easier to record, I would think. What would they have back then? Not phones yet. Didn't have iPhones.
Yeah, but you're back in the early 80s, you're using early versions of the dictaphone, and the size of small stage illusion.
Well, it was little tape decks, little portable tape decks. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah, then you always gave them the tape to take with them, right?
Right. Yeah. I've had the one I remember very explicitly. A gal came back and she says, "Here's what happened. You had told me that at a certain point, it was like 3 months in the future, 4 months in the future." And I gave her like a week. I was really good at timing stuff. I even nailed the week. I said about her and her boyfriend that they were going to break up, but neither one of them wanted to because they didn't want to break up the friendship. They just wanted to break up the romance relationship. And she said, "You told me that." Recorded it, and on that day that she pulled out this recording and played it for her boyfriend, and he was flabbergasted because he had just broken up with her that night, and she pulled out the recording and said, "That's exactly right. I don't want to break up with you. I just don't want to be romantic anymore." And she was very impressed because that was nailed right to their attitudes and their relationship and the time element and everything. And it's because, she had the recording to play for the guy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very easy to get a lot of wow things going with tarot. Well, you do tarot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very easy to get some stuff coming through. If you get the hell out of the way, it's easy to get stuff coming through that you don't know where it's coming from or exactly why or why you put this nuance on it and are telling people. And it's easy to get accurate.
It's also easy if you get your ego on the light, it's easy to get off, too.
Yeah. I always found that the cold reading stuff threw me off. I never like to use cold reading. I don't have a good opinion of the cold reading stuff. It just gets in the way. It's like stumbling blocks. Don't know where to go.
It's an interesting subject to study, but it's not very practical because most of the stuff is so generalized. It just doesn't make any sense. Why am I seeing the generalized statement in the middle of
it's so easy
something on?
It's easier to be bad at that than it is to be, good at tarot, or any system. It's easy to be good at it. Just do it. But
it seemed off to me.
Yeah. And I hear them online. I see all the mentalism talking about, and the magicians talking about all the cold reading and how do you get good cold reading. No, don't even bother with it. Wasting your time. Learn to do it. But the idea of reading people is you have to just jump in with both feet and give a little, faith that something's going to happen right. You have to jump into it and just do it. Give it its due and just do it.
And then after that, you started working the fairs.
Yes, I was here in California in late 70s, early 80s, and I was working for a guard company as a personnel manager, and an opening came up at Magic Mountain to go be a street magician. So so I went over there and I auditioned, and they hired me. And the guy who was running the
street magician back in that time as opposed to street magic today, because I don't want these guys confused.
Yeah, this was Magic Mountain, Six Flags Magic Mountain, and as a street magician, you would actually get crowds together, and it wasn't just attack one-on-one type of thing. You actually, you would actually build a crowd, do a small show, cut them loose, and go do it again. And you would do a show that would maybe be 10 minutes total, 15 minutes total of get the crowd to do the stuff. It's because you had to turn over a lot of people during the day. You would do 10 or 12, 15, 20 acts, do that 10 all day long, you'd be doing that. So you got to do the same stuff over and over, the same mentalism over and over, and the same card stuff over and over. And it was great stuff, great. After that ended, the guy who had done the street program started doing fairs, and he started booking conventions, banquets and all of that. So for a couple of years, I overlapped doing Magic Mountain and doing the conventions as anything. You want a giant chicken on it, that type of thing. He started booking fairs and started booking me in as different puppet shows and Sterling Magic, whatever he could book me in as. And then I did the medicine show right soon after I started. I developed that one and put it out there and did that for 2 seasons at the fairgrounds. And that was a great little act. I loved doing the medicine show act. It was out of a suitcase keister kind of thing that had a pop-up banners and went from a suitcase to 6 foot wide, 6-7 foot tall banners and pop-outs and this and that and everything. Great show. Loved doing that one. So I did that for 2 years. And then I had the opportunity to start at the fairs and start an attraction for kids as an art center. So I built an art center just as a total attraction, like 40 foot by 40 foot. Did art shows and would get the kids in. They could draw anytime they want to all day long. I was open. And then I would do shows to teach them how to be a cartoonist. So that was so popular. I just did that for years. And then I added a kiddie karaoke stage, kind of a little Victorian kind of thing where kids 7 and under could get up on the microphone. And it was just the opportunity for little kids and toddlers to get on a microphone without getting yelled at. So that was popular. That was as cute can be, and that was popular. And then I needed to bump my daily rate, so I brought out the magic stage. And then I had a magic stage that would do 3 or 4 shows a day. And then I could do all the mentalism and the regular magic and the rope tricks and the whatever I wanted to, you know.
Yeah, and then you could repeat some medicine show stuff in there, whatever you wanted to do that day. Yeah.
Absolutely, they didn't care. They didn't know that one show was supposed to be like another one. You know, if I try out new stuff, that's great. You know, and everybody loved it. So that's what I ended up doing until I just retired this last couple of years. I quit doing the psychic stuff. I had done a year on psychic phone lines. God, that was an awful year. 2 years, almost 2 years. Psychic phone lines, just horrible. And I didn't. Other people just prospered doing that stuff, but boy, I hated it. And especially after being a table reader and a tarot and all that business, I just hated it. I did that. I just burnt out on psychic work, so I just stopped. I had done the platform psychic stuff when I was booked for doing Magic Mountain and their Halloween haunts, which is they do the Halloween haunts and they're booked, you know, Friday and Saturday nights for, you know, all month long with the theme of Halloween every October.
Yeah. So, and then you started creating some almost sideshow attractions kind of things like that Xray manuscript I read.
The Xray, yes.
The Xray Glasses. That's a great piece.
That little piece was so much fun for the people who are listening here. Everybody probably knows what a Fiedler lens is. They had that great trick that came out where you had a pen and you put a lens over it and it warped and twisted, and then when you took the lens away, the pen was twisted. So anyway, this is a strange optical cheat kind of thing going on with this little lens. And they did a book on it. They had great stuff with it. Well, nobody had done it as an actual Xray glasses. So I had these glasses that were antique that were back from when they had to do all of their testing with physical lenses that would snap into the glasses they put on your nose to make sure that they got the right prescription. Well, this was like 50 years, 80 years ago, 100 years ago.
Yeah, these are actual optometry glasses. They're like scientific instruments.
I cut the lens and fit one of those and snapped that into this lap desk kind of thing, and found out that you could do about 3 or 4 good stunts to prove that you were actually seeing through anything, pencil, pen, piece of steel, soda straw, anything. It's just a great little stunt that you could put in a small case, slap it on a tripe, pop it open, line up kids to see, demonstrate it 1-to-1 on everybody because it's a short demo. Just really convincing. And you can run that for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever you wanted to. Or if you like the idea, you slick it up a little bit and just have it for your library to show your friends. It's a great little stunt.
It's a neat piece because the idea that you came up with in there I really liked was you only had, even though there's 2 glasses in the optometry thing, you removed one of the lenses and said it was broken so nobody can touch my lenses now. Yeah.
Good Mitox. You got to keep that Mitox going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
It turns into it's a really interactive kind of exhibit piece that's actually pure performance. It's a genius.
Well, if you got some great of those little things, you could stand up on a small platform and be a one-man sideshow.
Yeah.
And I designed one of these things, an octagonal sideshow that you would stand up maybe 12-foot wide deck in an octagon, and the audience moved around in a circle as a person, went from item to item. But yeah, you could bank up a bunch of these and it would be just fine for either a one-man sideshow or an act or anything else,
Yeah, I mean, it's there's an approach of your work. That's what I always loved about your work. There's this almost mass traffic flow to it, in a way, probably from your carnival or fair days, where you're working massive groups of people and doing the burn and turn kind of thing. But all the thing is, when they see something, it's really, really amazing to see that for a moment, and then you're on to the next moment.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not like I'm just throwing wow effect after wow effect. There's always a context within each of the effects.
Yeah.
Or the exhibits, or whatever you want to call it in this case.
I love being the premise of they can't believe the character. They know you're a shyster, but what you show them is so unbelievable that it has to have some element of truth in it. I just love to wallow in that area.
Yeah, it's some kind of like I'm a snake oil kind of approach in a way.
Yeah. I used to do the needle to the arm, part of the medicine show, and that would drag people from the carnival. The carnival would come over and watch that one, you know. And, then one guy showed me the real way, the accurate way to gaff the meat hook through the tongue. And I put a little pamphlet out on that one because just people don't know it. You know, they do half of it and it's incorrect. And there's another little thing you do to it to make it really believable. But I love that type of thing. You know, I like that size of audience best. I've done so many back when, done so many of the damn banquets, and you try and get some little broad who's gumming her green beans to pick a card, it's just hell, you know. And you get between, you know, some boss and some suck up, and you come out bloody from that one. Boy, they want to banquets and things. They want to do their own thing. I hated that walk around stuff. I just didn't have the personality for it. But I love putting on a mask, something like that, and getting up on a platform, and then I can razzmatazz. So I can, you know.
Yeah, you turn into a showman instead of
Jim and Jam all I want to.
Yeah. And you're also doing, at times you're doing 10, 15 shows a day. You're not, I mean, you're burning and turning the same show over and over and over again.
At the fair, when I was doing the fairs, I would do 3 and maybe up to 5 art shows a day, because the length of those would just depend on what the audience wanted. And then I would do 3 magic shows a day. So it was at least 6 shows a day. And then the magic shows were 20 minutes, you know. They were short. You didn't want to, it was all kind of all scheduled. I could do them anytime I wanted to. So,
right. Now you also had a quick reset on everything, right?
I'm sorry?
Everything you were showing and doing was quick reset type effects where you could reset them quickly without. Pretty much.
When I early did the medicine show, I did a lot of liquid tricks, molten parvo and stuff, and that's always a pain in the ass to do that, but it's always worth it because nobody ever gets to see any, and it's real puzzling. So, but other than that, rinsing out the slush from your slush glass and that type of thing. Everything's pretty much resettable. Grab more rope, make sure your backup thumb tips are there, that type of thing.
Yeah, so it wasn't nothing complicated. I mean, you weren't doing anything complicated. It takes long.
No.
Really no pre-show or any of that kind of stuff.
Don't think that, for fairgrounds, you got all kinds of weather and all kinds of wind and this and that, and conditions, so you don't want delicate stuff and you don't want a lot of futzing around. And you got to be good for angles. So
right, because in the rain you might have to pack your stuff up in 2.5 seconds and move off the stage.
Yeah, well, I had to redesign one of my stages so that I could do a quick down with the sidewalls because I was doing where the hell was it? Victorville or somewhere way out there, Lancaster, where it was busy being windy. Yeah, if it gets windy and the weather's really bad, you need to yank your sidewalls down or you're going to blow away.
Yeah.
And if you could drop your sidewalls, all my sidewalls for all the stages were just cloth. They weren't canvas or anything. I would go downtown Los Angeles and buy the best cloth in the world, fantastic stuff for, $1 a yard, 5 foot wide, $1 a yard, $2 a yard. You could sidewall a whole 12-foot stage for $50. So you didn't have to do much real detail work. You could just staple that stuff up there onto battens and things and come easy up, easy down. But you had to design for that, Everything I had was all slot fit, and everything, 3 attractions, 80 foot wide, went into an extended van. It was just all made slot fit. I don't know if I said you had any slot fits, pamphlets or anything there, but it all broke down, went in real easy, all designed to be easy up and easy down.
And then how did you, the Lulu Society publications.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that for a minute? Because I don't know if people even remember.
It was kind of a spiritual exercise. It was very strange. Like I said, I did pretty much, done a few pamphlets, and I liked making pamphlets and the design element and the artistic element, et cetera, et cetera. So I needed a real reason to get my ass in gear. I needed to leverage myself into deadlines and things. So I decided I was going to do this subscription service. And it was going to be about Lulu Hurst, because at that time, she wasn't really popular in the magic field again. She kind of drifted off into oblivion. So I had printed up her autobiography, a truncated version of her autobiography, and then had written my version of that act, how to do it modern day. But so anyway, I decided I was going to do the Lulu Hurst Society for people who like weird and bizarre stuff as strange entertainments. And I would take, donations as far as articles and this and that and tricks and things, but it would give me a reason and a deadline to get stuff written. So the deal was, for $25 a year, I would send you crap, and if you didn't like it at the end of the year, you can send it back, and I'd give you your money back. So and then I rolled 5 years on that. And the thing that was surprising most was that the minute I took out the profit motive from doing that, it freed me up creatively. Just an amazing amount of freedom, because I didn't have to be limited to making a buck on it. I didn't have to worry about any kind of bottom line or anything. If I wanted to spend more money on a binding or this or that or something, I did. And once that profit motive went away, it just gives you an immense amount of freedom. So anyway, that went for 5 years. I think I printed, sometimes they would get 6 or 7 mailings a year, and inside every mailing would be 3 or 4 different things. I have somewhere here. Hold on here. I got...
Yeah, because you did that back in that period. You first put out the Red Light Mystery, where you talked about the show as a spiritualist here in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, yeah.
No problem. It's pretty. That was I read that in the airport flying out to, I think, Miami the last time. And a long way. I probably read that pamphlet about 10 or 15 times. It was just rolling on the floor. Because it was funny, because you knew the spiritualist. I knew his assistant that ripped him off.
The spiritualism, that works so good when you're talking, and you don't have to do anything. For the readers, there's something that happens in a dim red light, especially when you have that shining on somebody in a really dark room. And I've called it retina fatigue. I have no idea what it is, but it acts like retina fatigue, so I think that's probably what it is. So if you watch somebody who's dimly lit with a deep red light, and they're talking, as they gently move and stuff, it looks as though there's an overlay, kind of like a shadow-like overlay on their face and body that changes their face and body to look like somebody or something else. Somebody else. And it's a natural phenomenon, and it's just spooky as hell, and it just works great, and it's outside of your control. You don't have to worry about it. If you're giving a seance or anything like that, you just do it. Do your introductory talk with that red light. And afterwards, you kind of quiz people to see how, did you see it? Oh, you saw it too? Well, what did you see? Well, and then, of course, you let the people in a seance, let them go start talking what they're seeing and expressing. That excites them a lot, so they just go great guns on it. It's a great thing to do. I still have no idea how or why it works, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's only like 4-page little manuscript, but it's a great 4 pages. It really is.
Yeah, that was the Spiritualist Church. when it started to dawn on me that some spiritualists were assholes and just in it for the money and scamming people. And that was not a good thing to see, but I could, as a magician, I recognized this stuff. It was like a slap across the face. Oh my God, he's doing one head. What the hell? You're not supposed to do that.
Making more cash than I am. He's the one got 3 people in the audience.
Yeah.
What's wrong with this picture?
Yeah, so that was an education. But I was smart enough to keep my mouth shut so I could sit and watch. And because at that particular time I wasn't doing any magic, so they didn't know I had a magic knowledge. So that was kind of interesting. That was fun.
Yeah. And then you started the past life thing, and we'll get to that last. I want to say that one for last. But you also put out the Ordinal Codex and the Georgia Magnet Act, which I thought was brilliant. Because you were combining just like general cheap magic effects with the actual old Georgia Magnet performance.
So it's like Phil Smith. Phil Smith's Mitox is so incredible. It's all in the Mitox. It's all in that overarching lie or truth that you display. It's all in what you say it am. It am what you say it am. So the problem with the original Lulu Act was no problem back then. If you threw the mayor off the stage and he broke an ankle, everybody just laughed at him for 2 months. That was it. Nowadays, you poke somebody in the ribs and they're going to sue you. So you got to do this. You can do the same act, but you can't do the dangerous stuff. But it's all in the Mitox. So you can use regular magic and change the reasons, the purpose, and what's happening because it's your universe. It am what you say it am. So you can start faking this stuff. You don't just have to use leverage stuff,
Yeah, because you ended up using just like simple magic tricks that were available, back then at every magic store in the country. Yeah. And still create these Georgia Magnet type performances without all the pushing and shoving, which was genius.
Yeah, I thought it was very practical. If you want to do this act, do it, but you gotta change your Mitox and change your approach because you can't hurt people. The lift method in that manuscript was just a dynamite little piece that I have no idea when and where I learned it or who taught it to me or anything. As far as I remember, I was doing it in high school. So I would imagine it was, from some pamphlet, somewhere back then in Abbott's or somewhere. But that particular lift method is really easy to learn and really works well. And that's the only Georgia Magnet thing you really need to do. The rest of it just proves, how true that one was.
Yeah, it was it's just a wonderful little presentation piece because what I liked about it is I looked around and I'm like, I got most of this stuff in my junk drawer.
It's so easy to go grab it and and it's easy to learn and it's a suitcase act for sure.
Yeah, and I like the independent suitcase acts because it diversifies what I can actually do.
Yeah, but it is one that's easy to do, and you get your assistant and sometimes, she can do the dirty work while you're doing the booga, and sometimes you do the dirty work and nobody knows it. Oh, she's doing the booga.
Yeah, it's just fascinating stuff. And then you did the platform psychic in there, and the Dalu casket.
That was the first. I put that down just like shop notes. I don't know if I've forgotten what I sent you or what kind of pictures or anything like that. But if anybody's interested in any of this stuff, my Facebook page has albums in it that you can get to see, like the Zodiac Wheel and how it's made and what it looks like, and a bunch of this stuff is there for ideas and things. So anybody's welcome to plow through that. That platform of psychic was basically based off of when I was doing astrology and zodiac on a platform at the Halloween haunts and things, and then at the banquets too. I could do that zodiac wheel. Yeah, I had like a 4x8 stage, about 15 inches off the ground, and I had back walls of burgundy and bamboo. I had a big zodiac wheel that was actually a cheat sheet, so that no matter how little astrology you happen to know, you could look at this wheel and talk about it because it was all laid out there for you. So as much as you learned, the wheel had you covered. It was a great cheat sheet. I had a table that I used. I sat on a bar stool, swivel bar stool. I had a table that I used. It was, if you could imagine, two attaché cases all hinged up together so they would flop out and be like a Victorian drawer table, small table for stuff, and a light, and that was it. And then I did the tick sheets and used the astrology wheel to talk, and the tick sheets, Nelson tick sheets for giveaways. The tick sheets I did up on gloss stock. I did my own outside so that they looked really expensive. The inside, all Nelson. So that was easy to do. You could do 4 minutes on a tick sheet pretty easy. Whatever, depending on the crowd, how fast you have to talk. But they get to walk away with something looking really expensive that they show their friends with, and as a banquet or a convention or something, that's a plus for your booker. Everybody's happy, the client's happy, the booker's happy, everybody's happy. So that was basically the platform psychic. Then if you want to do Q&A and stuff up there, you can throw in any given mentalism that you want to, any given book tests, it's all in your show. You can either do magic, you can do mentalism, you can do bizarre stuff, you can do the zodiac and tick sheets, and I swear you can mix them all up and nobody cares. Well, as long as your mitox is on straight. As long as your reasoning and your verbal is on straight, you're fine.
And then you did. I want to ask a question on this. Case Closed with Mike Rose. Is that Mike Rose out of Dayton or Yellow Springs?
Mike Rose, the magician, is he? Yeah,
actually a puppeteer. I met him years ago, back in the 80s.
I didn't know he was a puppeteer. He, let's see.
Well, when I met him in the 80s, I think Rose was doing puppeteering or something.
He's published a couple books. He's a book publisher and everything, and a magician. I thought he was out of Chicago. Maybe that's Chuck Romano.
Maybe it might be a different Rose. There was a Rose back here I met years ago that did puppet stuff. It turned me on to a bunch of high-end puppet guys. Well, I knew Bob Mason, and Bob Mason was a puppeteer.
He was. I never knew that. I never knew that.
Yeah, Bob Mason did a lot of... he did Punch and Judy, actually. At one time, he was the leading Punch and Judy performer in the role.
I didn't know that either. That's wow.
He's also a clown, a traditional white clown for Cole Brothers Circus.
That's
you got to dig for that. You got to dig for that one.
Good stuff in mentalism and magic. I've forgotten, what his work is now, but there was a time when his name, Bob Mason stuff, was like the latest and best.
Yeah, and then you'll see him in the film Blue Hawaii with Elvis as a puppeteer.
I didn't know that either.
In the bar scene, there's a guy working a puppet act in the background. That's Bob Mason. He's an unaccredited extra in the film. I actually have his jacket laying around somewhere that he wore in that. So, gold frilly, one of those 80s, 70s, 80s kind of frilly jackets. Real small. He's real small. He was smaller than I am, so, back then. Thin guy. But that was Bob. Yeah, I did some acting under the name of Jim Steinmeier and a few other things. Or Jim Steimer. Steiner, sorry. Mm-hmm. Just interesting stuff there back in the old days.
Yeah.
And then, let's see what we want to get into. What's the case closed? That's the case closed thing. What was that?
Case closed was a back and forth short story done up as a police file on an investigation of this post-apocalyptic. It's getting better and better. Post-apocalyptic police department. This scientist and what happens to their DNA manufactured animals, and it was a police file letter. And then Mike Rose wrote a letter back and then we were corresponding to each other with under the same fictional premise. So that went on for 5. It was fun. I think it was my favorite thing that I've ever published. It was really fun. It went on for like 5 back and forth. And it ended up being this little short story, and it came in a police file, part of the Lulu thing. This is what you got. Open it up, bam, here's a police file with a short story inside. So it was a police file, and it was pretty fun.
Now, are you going to make some of this stuff available again?
I'm trying to put all of it into one single volume. I'm not sure if I want to publish the Blade Box into I think that's secret enough to be held back for the people who actually want to do the Blade Box and keep it that private. But that's about the only thing that I think that I would want to keep out of it. But the rest of it, I'd love to do everything in it.
Wow.
Yeah. So far, I've got about 200 and some pages that are lined up, and kind of this is how it's going to go. And I don't know whether to just reprint the old manuscripts as they were, or retype set everything and glitch them up. So I have no idea what's going to happen, but I don't have to decide that yet. So I may decide that either sober or drunk. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things that sometimes the old manuscripts, just reprinting them as they originally appeared, is always interesting.
Yeah.
Because you see that original context, which is, although sometimes heavily dated, but it's still interesting to me. Yeah.
I wouldn't put in things like the famous escape things. I put that out at Lulu, and it was Henry Harden's. I stumbled across Henry Harden's hand-done manuscript, about 100 pages, and I printed that up just as it was, all on type, hand-typed and all that business. But that type of stuff were the things that wasn't mine, I would leave out of it. I had an issue for a minute on Kuda Bux's Torn and Restored Napkin, and I watched him do it in the Castle Library here way back when. He was showing a kid who had performed that night the Torn and Restored Napkin, and he got up and he did his version, and it just blew me away. I had no idea how I did it. And then he repeated it a couple times and showed the kid how it was done and everything. And I don't think it's in print anywhere, but I don't know that if I have the rights or if I should. But it's good, but I may put it in as an addendum or something like that at the end of the book.
Yeah, this is what I witnessed.
It shouldn't be lost, so I'm kind of at a quandary.
Yeah, that's Kuda Box.
Yeah.
There's some of us out here that are real hardcore. I kind of like that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was just a fascinating period. I mean, the Gucci Act, the Medicine Show.
The Medicine Show?
Yeah.
That was Professor Fondelheine Gooch. And, until I finally got told you can't use Fondelheine at the fairgrounds. The squeamish people are squeaming. So that pissed me off. But anyway, the Gooch Act was the medicine pitch, which was Old West kind of thing.
Yeah, you did publish a separate manuscript on that, I remember seeing at one point. Maybe it was this thing I saw.
Yeah, that taught, besides the act that I particularly did, to give you grounding on it, but published plans on how to build that keister, the pop-out keister.
Yeah, the Medicine Show book, I think is what you call it or something.
Yeah, Medicine Show manual, yeah. That was the Gooch Act. And I got people where it feels so good when you have people say, yeah, I built one, it's working great, it makes you feel good, it's still out there cranking.
And there's still, so many people are still running these acts. I mean, this isn't like something that just goes away. I mean, people are still running
Good act to do.
Well, you saw it back 20 years ago. It's great.
Yeah.
And then 2005, Satan's Bitch, the 7-galley notepad was great.
The which one?
That was just Satan's Bitch, the 7-galley notepad. Yeah, loved it.
I just had the concept of it, and I didn't want to deep dive into it, so I just threw it out as basic concept and just here, do something with this, see if it's feasible for you. But I like doing pamphlets so much that was easy for me to do that type of thing, to throw a pamphlet out on just an idea that other people could take and run with.
Yeah, now they got 7-galley pads and 7 pads and all kinds of neat stuff 20 years later.
Yeah, 7-pad going great. He's doing a good job making it, apparently. Everybody loves that one.
Yeah, it's just interesting that, where a lot of this stuff comes from. It doesn't necessarily come from, where everybody thinks it does.
The Codex, I liked. Did I ever send you the Codex?
Yeah, I haven't finished the Codex yet. I've been finishing the other ones.
That's interesting because it's for people who like to do Q&A and stuff. It's just an envelope marking system where, for your listeners, it's just a super simple way of marking envelopes so that you can actually describe the people that the envelope belongs to.
Yeah, it does
and you
look
can
pretty
make your code any way you want to. You can make it customized to suit your own needs. Super simple, And then again, that's one of those things where people will read it and say, okay, I can use this, or I can't. But I can use this, and I can use it this way, and I'll take it and run with it,
Yeah, well, a lot of your stuff, I think, is a lot like my stuff. It's real open-ended. You can take the core of the concept and run with it in a totally new direction, which is
fun to see, right? People do that. It's fun to see that people do that. That's excellent.
And then the new one that just came out is fantastic. The Journey to Aquarius, the Past Lives Workshop.
Oh, you like that one?
Oh.
Good. That one was real easy to put together, and I did take a little time to put together the package, more than usual, but I knew the 4 things in there, and it just gelled one time that you could put this together and have a really good evening of psychic functioning, and past lives, and those the 4 experiments work for everybody, so you could have an evening where things are really working for the people who attend. You're doing the red light seance, which is in there, the red light business. The parallel. Have you tried the parallel vision yet?
No, I'm still reading through it.
Okay, yeah, try that. You can try that in the mirror. That's very spooky, and it's very effective with a lot of people.
We actually do a red light seance. I'm looking at combining that with what I'm already doing. So.
Yeah.
Because that's a pretty good chunk of cheese when you can get it.
Yeah. Then the parallel vision is seeing your people get to try and see what other people look like in their past lives, if that's your mind talks, and then it goes into the past lives where you actually run people on their past lives, and this is old Swigard's multi-level awareness. And boy, if you do that, it's very strange, very strong. It works, and you can go through past lives in details. People will tell you all about their past lives. All you have to do is ask the questions, and they have the answers right there, and they'll tell you. And it's very strange. And again, you can believe in it or not. Doesn't matter. It's a great thing to do for an evening.
Yeah, but that's what makes that system, your system, different from every other system out there. It's got like this really structured flow to it, but it's very simple to do. There's no real get ready for anything. You just pretty much go out and do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty much, like I was saying, it's pretty much a turnkey past life workshop that you can study it, do it, practice a little bit so you know what's going on. Then after that, it's just running people on and learning from there.
Yeah, and then your interaction with the audience, the questions, and all that just flows very nicely, and they end up answering their own past life questions. I mean, it's genius.
And then they get to take home the thing and do it with their friends, or come back, depending on what you're doing. You may have, your little workshop yoga studio that come back, once a month for everybody get together and talk past lives, or whatever. It depends on where you're at, and you work where you're planted. Do your past lives as a home psychic parties. If you're out in the boonies or out in the places where you're not going to get access to stages or yoga centers.
Yeah, but you can do that. I mean, you can do that act literally anywhere. I could do that act at a psychic fair during a lecture.
Yes, you could. Absolutely.
And just absolutely kill with it. I mean, I can set my booth up at the fair, and then I can go do the special lecture that day is past life thing.
It'll be very easy, and everybody would get that psychic functioning experiments, that they would have succeeded in. They like what you do. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's real interactive with the audience. I love it when routines actually work with the audience instead of here's a performer showing some stuff. Yeah. There's got to be that interaction between the two, where you can't really distinguish if it's the performer performing or if the audience is the performer, and there's a role reversal kind of thing that goes on. It's real subtle, but it's nice.
Yeah, it's like here's what I'm talking about. Here's the experiment. Now let's do this experiment, and now you know what I'm talking about, and now you can do it too. Now let's go on to the next thing, And
that makes a great psychic-oriented workshop because it's very simple for them to do. They can actually do it, and I can bill out really good money doing that. And charge a per seat type ticket thing, and not have a problem getting it. I mean,
I think people who are good at that, I've never done a workshop in my life, so I have no idea how I do it. I would imagine it would be, fun and interesting and low-key to this and that. But, boy, other people who do workshop and everything can pump some energy into this thing and really make it play, make it really work.
Because it's a great, great system. I've read through it a couple of times now. I'm still absorbing all the information.
Yeah.
There's really, compared to some of your works, there's a lot more information in this. And there's subtle sentences in there that actually mean, all this other stuff. So you have to. Yeah,
I'm real tempted to rewrite that. Start rewriting it now, just to talk more, because I'm assuming it's directed at people who can crank out a workshop, or an entertainment, So I'm a little succinct in areas that I think maybe I should talk more on.
There's maybe a few points that might need to be expanded on, but that can be done in the supplement. You don't have to rewrite this particular part of it.
Yeah.
Because for those of us that actually kind of work, we're like, hey, there it is.
Yeah, the past life thing, where you're running people through their past lives, gets really strange, and especially when they can recognize people in their present life as to who and what they were in past lives. It's just jaw dropping. It gets really strange really quick.
Yeah, that's the hook right there. That's the meat of the program right there. It's a great program. Now they can still get that from you, right? It's still in publication.
Yeah, I just started that. I just finished it a month ago. And I haven't done up. I've done up a dozen copies or so, a dozen packages, and sent a few out. Then sold a few. I should do another dozen or so just to have them on hand. But yes, they can get it from me. They could, if they want. Can I mention it?
Yeah, please do.
If they want, it's a turnkey past life workshop manual package. Be $45. And my PayPal is Jorgenson, Jorgenson @ AOL.com. I'll know what it's for. postage included, and it has the manual instructions and everything. It also has some enclosures that make it easy for you to give out handouts and instructions on the past life thing, so they can do it at home, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's a great program. Guys, get it. If you're using my work, you might want to pick up a copy of this. What's the overseas? Is there any additional for overseas shipping?
I would have to, for overseas, it's so expensive nowadays. I would have to figure it out case by case, because sometimes it's $30 and sometimes it's $55, and it's super expensive overseas. Now
they can. Is that the same? That address, is that the same as an email they can contact you at?
Yeah, Jorgensen@AOL.com.
Okay, so yeah, if you guys are overseas, contact him for shipping rates, and we'll get you taken care of.
I'm just starting now.
You have some other stuff
which
still
is
available.
The next one that I'm starting now is Platform Psychic. So I'm going to, and that'll have the stuff in there where you can actually build the astrology wheel. Super simple. Do it yourself.
Yeah, there's a strong act too. Now you got some of your other works are still in circulation from you, right?
Let's see. About the only thing that's really still cranking out is the Lulu thing and the New Georgia Magnet Act and the Medicine Show. And that's about it that like Hocus Pocus might have a copy, or Denny and Lee keeps a copy of the Medicine Show in stock all the time. They're good at that. But beyond
how much is the Georgia Magnet Lulu Hurst thing and the Medicine Show, so they know?
The Medicine Show is like $20. I forget now. Maybe $20. The Lulu Hurst, I've got the 3-pamphlet packet, her autobiography for background, the new Georgia Magnet Act, and the little $5 Secrets of the Magnet Girl Explained, and that's $30.
Yeah, it's a deal.
And but the rest of it, I do. I when I print stuff up, I do maybe 30 copies or 50 copies or sometimes 100 copies. When I was doing Lulu, I would do up about 50 copies, and then 33 copies would go out to the people, and I'd have a few on hand. Sometimes I would do stuff for other people, like Banachek. When I would do up one of his key erect, I did 100 copies of that, and the deal was that I would do 100 copies, and they would get 66 copies to give away or so, and then I would get 33 copies to give out to Lulu members or sell. So it's not too many copies of anything other than the few things that have gone commercial. The medicine.
Yeah, I noticed some of your stuff's rare. I keep seeing it at some of the auctions I go to, and I'll buy it when I see it because I know how rare it is.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it, it's limited publication.
Yeah, and then every time I redo something, there's a different cover and a different presentation and a different this and that, or had been.
Yeah.
Too much fun.
Yeah, and sometimes the covers change too, so, it's the same book, but a different cover on it. So.
Yeah.
Like the new tarot, I think I got 3 different versions of that now.
Sell a few.
Well, I keep looking at hey, is there anything, is there something extra in this one?
Generally, no.
You never know with some of these guys. Sometimes they put out one cover version, and the blue cover version is the one you want, or the black cover version is the rare one, or
Yeah, different editions and that type of thing. But generally, if I've redone it, it's regurgitating myself into a different way, or I want to do a different manuscript or a different pamphlet, different look.
Yeah, it's a massive body of work. We haven't even covered half of it.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Now you're working on the new manuscript that's going to have all the
Platform Psychic.
Yeah.
That'll have all the building plans. I haven't put out too much building plans yet, just a couple of short manuscripts on building plans, but this one will have full building plan on how to do a stage, how to do the slot fit stage, one that goes up and almost instantly and goes down and fits in your van and all that type of thing. So I'll have extended work on that, which might be of value to people who want to do that for fairs or conventions or banquets. Or the thing about that is, when I was doing the readings and everything, you could be a certain size. You could be a stroller, get paid for that. You could be a table reader, and then after that there was nothing. You had to have a stage. If you wanted to get bigger than that, you had to do a stage show. And normally when you have those conventions and things, the stages are all occupied. They got their plans, entertainment going on up there, so you can't get any bigger than a table reader. But with the platform of psychic size, you can say, okay, give me a square corner, give me a corner someplace or a little area, and all of a sudden you've got an 18-foot stage or 12-foot stage with cloth and banners and this and a marquee, and you got something going on that they can just plug and play anywhere, whether it's inside, outside, whatever. So you have a lot more access to getting work because you're a different size than anybody else can offer. If you're going to do it as a psychic, you're going to, depending on your theme, you could be anywhere from sideshowy psychic to mystic to whoever. But you can be anything you want to, and you can deck it out theme-wise real easy so that your booker can book you in various ways for various purposes for various events. Yeah. So financially, it's a real good size to be. Because all you do is you take your wood, you slot fit it together, you flop your deck on top, you poke in a couple of corner things and drape your drapes off that, and bam, you're big and you're flashy, and you're making a lot better money than the guy sitting at a table doing card readings or palm readings.
Yeah, and you can set most of the stuff up in 20 minutes or less. I mean, it's not like it's a big setup either. Not a difficult setup.
Up to the platform psychic type of thing is pretty easy. Just two 8-foot boards, 2 4-foot boards in the deck, and then your upright stuff. It's pretty easy. You can get in there and I think you can schlep it in 20 minutes and set it up in 20 minutes. So that's pretty good for a convention.
Yeah, I think that's excellent for a convention, especially when it plays that big.
Yeah.
Because the idea here is because, guy's traveling around. He's doing a small parlor in one place, and he's doing a bigger show in the next place. But it allows us to, stay booked.
Yes, you can snag those jobs that are a size that other people haven't thought of before, or smaller events that don't have a stage. Bam, now you're a stage, Or
yeah, but if you're driving across country, it's good to pick up a gig every day or two.
If you had if you knew business like I don't.
Yeah.
I'm the worst person my career should be in the hands of. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it's just when I go on the road, I go on the road for quite a while, so I haven't done that in a few years. But, I like to be able to book this town 80 miles away. I'm booking into this town.
Yeah, well,
I'm not making any progress, but across country. But I'm getting there. It's
fun. I've had fun with it anyway. Beats the hell out of working in a factory.
Yes, it does. Or flipping burgers, or making pizzas, or any other dumb stuff I did in the past.
Oh God, I did a list one time of all the real jobs that I'd had in my life, and I got up to 40 before I started stumbling into the fairs. I'd done 40 different jobs in my life.
And they were all bad. Yep.
Well, they were. They were. There's just so many assholes who work in corporations and factories, and I like to be able to pick and choose, who I associate with. I don't like them flung together in a room.
Yeah, it's like that. In the last episode of Psicast, when we talked to Tim, he's like, I was a logger for a couple of years. Logger?
Yeah. Hey, the freedom.
It's interesting, from the perspective of like talking to other performers about this stuff. Is our lives are so interesting. It really does need to be shared.
You're right. I think every magician and entertainer out there, has a real interesting story to tell.
And if you don't, you're not an entertainer. Because, all the entertainers I know always had some interesting tales to talk about, or, they were grumpy. It was, grumpy was kind of a old curmudgeon. Usually sums up all the old entertainers I knew growing up.
Yeah. But
there was, they were always old and bitter and curmudgeon-y, and, it was just, there's a certain charm there. I've been doing this I've been doing this since the 20s.
Yeah. Well, I think it gives you access to more life events than actually getting down and working in one place for the whole lifetime. I've been able to travel to Japan and work schools there doing a magic show. I don't speak Japanese. That was just a real rip. That was a lot of fun. I worked for Norm Nielsen for like a year and a half when he was over here in L.A. Making birds and doing stuff and making his catalogs and things. And that was just an amazement, right there.
Yeah.
He had.
You got any stories from those days?
Not many. It was just basically a two-person business, and he would go off and fly off to wherever it was he was going to be performing in Europe or somewhere. And I'd load the piano on top of his car, and we'd head off to the airport. Then while he was gone, I'd run a business. Stuff things in envelopes and mail out the tricks and this and that type of thing, and make stuff when it was needed. But he would sometimes, he had a great big long backyard, and he loved his rose bushes out there, and he had bonsai trees. He would take his piano out in the yard to practice, and he would crank the volume up in the house just as loud as it would go, and I would be upstairs. I remember looking out over this green grass and watching Norm Nielsen slow the piano in the backyard with this thundering music going. It was an incredible, incredible moment of reality. It was very strange. But he was always, he was the one who taught me that no matter what you do, and, if you're going to do it, if you just do the best quality you can, at whatever level you're at, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Don't cheap out. Just wherever you can, don't cheap out and do the best quality you can. You're just better ahead all the way around, always. And like I said, if you can not worry about that financial thing a little bit, things get better, if you're producing stuff. But I think doing this business I think every entertainer has some sort of thing they're working out in the back of their brain, in their back brain. I've known one-eyed jugglers, and people working stuff out, just to get up on stage. They're working on some sort of psychological, bullshit that they're doing. But I think almost all the entertainers are working out something or other. But it just by the nature of the beast gives you a more interesting life than other people have. And I can't imagine doing or being anything else, because I've been, I've done everything else, from, factories to this to that, to a radiation safety engineer or officer at one time at Fermilab. I was that for a couple of years. Just everything, But the entertaining, man, it's where it's at.
Yeah.
It gives you access to more growth than other fields can, I think.
Now, is there any tips you want to give to the new guys that are coming out into the business, thinking about getting into the biz?
Wow, for business advice, get somebody who knows something more about business advice than me. That'd be my first tip. But other than, get good business advice and follow that. But I plowed through, don't be afraid of plowing through thousands of things, because you're gonna, chances are. And don't be afraid to throw away thousands of things, because you're gonna. Don't worry about it, The older I got, the fewer things I did, and the better I did them. So eventually, standing up on stage, the magic stuff was 12, 15 minutes long, but it was just impossible. Everything was just really good, And I kept throwing out things that weren't quite as good. So, tips to the new people: do your education any way you can. The problem with the new people today is they got too damn many toys to play with, and you don't have the tendency to take one effect or one thing and just run it so you know it inside out, and you've been doing that one thing for a year or two. There's so many things that they can grab onto and learn lightly, which I guess has its own reward. It has its own advantages, but the problem with the young people is they don't have any place to perform. That's why they're out accosting strangers on the streets. They need to invent new venues and new places and new ways to do their performing. Or go back to some of the old ways, who knows,
because, the days of just walking into a theater and actually getting paid for a gig are over. It's all four-walled now. Yeah. So you're going to, if you're going to four-wall that, why don't you just four-wall a new venue?
Yeah.
If you're going to pay your own bill and run your own show, just go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But learn advertising and marketing. That's a big one. But there's a lot of this stuff that me and Robert have been teaching the guys on, how to do psychic fairs. Giving them, wealth of information just on that topic alone.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, that's a great place to start out and get some, cash flow going.
That's it. If they can do anything to do cash flow, that's going to teach you a new, bigger, better thing to do more cash flow, generally. The creativity is going to start coming in, and you're going to be able to grow from it.
Yeah, and that's one thing I noticed about your work over the years is you published a lot of this stuff that you actually use.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's some theoretical stuff in there, but there's a lot of it so you can tell you've been on the thing.
It's like this one thing I did called a Grantini opener. It was a sleight of mind that I thought was a good trick, but it was a little. By the time you were done with it, with the 6 cards on the slate, by the time you were done with it, you had the people's attention, and they were going, what just happened? Well, I bumped it up so you're doing that 3 of them. So you did the same trick, only you did 3 all at once. And it worked fine, except I hated doing it. And it was good, it was strong, and it made more sense, and it was really cool, but I wasn't the type of person to be able to pull that one off. And I did that for maybe 2 fairs. And I figured, fine, that's a great thing, but not for me. So you throw that one out,
Yeah, but a lot of this stuff is like I tell them all the time, some of the stuff I'm using, you're not going to use in this way, You might use it in a different way, or you might not use it at all, but...
Well, even if you do it once, you learn from it. Just because you learn something, you do something, you don't have to do it forever. You can learn all you need to do about it, in a few times, if that's the way I am. You don't have to do
I think there's a lot of great stuff out there that's, it's still great stuff. It doesn't fit me.
Yeah, or the conditions that you're in at the moment. Yeah, your requirements. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a lot of those effects I've done, and they just don't fit my style. So I do the more strange, out there, fringe kind of stuff, which fits me perfectly. It's believable. I mean, that's one thing too, is when they cross over into that area, is it believable? Even if it is a lie, is it a believable lie?
Yeah.
Changes the whole game.
The my talks, Well, I did for one fair, at least one fair, I did the Bermuda Triangle thing. And it was really well set up, but you had to pay attention to what was going on, and that was wrong at the fairs. And I did it on a big blackboard, and I had all the ships and planes in cut out or magnetic business cards, and so I could put them up there and take them away and recount them and, do all the business. And it was fun, but it was the wrong act. It was the wrong trick for the wrong act, at the fairgrounds.
Yeah, and you'll find, a lot of the new guys will start discovering that too. Like, some of the stuff you're doing at one place, even though you do it really well, doesn't work at the other venue.
Yeah.
So you have to be kind of adaptable in this kind of working environment. Like you said, when you're working outdoor shows, you got to be able to adapt to wind conditions, rain conditions. Yeah.
And then new ones coming up, when they do the stuff, don't be afraid to throw it away if it doesn't work, and don't be afraid to go back to it. If you got an old trick that didn't work then, pick it up again and try it in a new place or a new way. You never know.
Yeah, because the venues are, always changing too. Even if you work the same venue all the time, you'll see that parts of this venue have changed. The people have changed. What they do or what they like this week is different than what it was the last time you were there. And you got to kind of keep up with a lot of that. It's a lot to know, really.
You got to morph with the change with the people too, and the people's heads. I used to be able to get away with a lot of good, funny stuff at the fairs that you wouldn't be able to do now. It offends somebody, and those offensive people are just flapping their tail ends right into the management.
There's a lot of that going on, but
so you have to mold that. And I used to do a stiff rope in the middle of the medicine show, and do that innuendo for the people who caught it in the business. Then I just threw it out. It wasn't funny enough to do, and too big a risk,
and you got 10 minutes to work, 20 minutes to work. You don't have a lot of time to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got to condense. Sometimes it's condensing too, because I've done some stuff where I walk into a fair or someplace and I'm booked for 5 hours, and they say, well, we can only give you 2. I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. Thanks. Mm-hmm. Well, work this out.
Well, fairs, I don't know. I think fairs might be going on the way out. If states get all their budgets cut, the fairs being agricultural events, they're going to be one of the first things cut when they're cutting down. They're getting real serious about cutting money. And it's kind of background, underground worry that people have with the present political bullshit, that fair money might get yanked out from underneath it when there won't be any fairs anymore. Or if there are...
Yeah, but I think at the same time there's going to be more new underground venues, and I know a lot of the guys are exploring those ideas now.
That might
we're all taking big changes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because the way the game was played when we were growing up is not the game that's played today. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And until they learn that, I got a friend here that
you can do in different venues and play, then you're covered.
Yeah, I got friends here.
The past life workshop is because you can play it in a dozen different ways.
And you can play it in a dozen different venue sizes. That's really key.
Yeah.
I can play that in the back room of a metaphysical store. That's a great.
Yeah, exactly. That's there's your lecture right there. Your evening event, $30 to get in. You got take home stuff.
And then you split that with the house, but you still make good money, because there's 20 or 30 people there, and then you do that every night. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or if you had a route, or you could do it once a month. You book it once a month if you're in urban areas, and your little tour. New people.
Yeah, and you need to set that up as a private type, exclusive type thing to get into, like they did with some of the old card magic shows. It was a real exclusive to get into. You got to be invited. There's all kinds of ways to work these.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's something to that, though. I mean, there's something really to that because, set up a private monthly exclusive event that nobody can get into and charge $100 a ticket. And you got people lined up to get into the event because that's the thing to do that nobody can get into. I mean, it's,
Exactly.
You make $3,000 a month doing nothing.
Exactly. If you know how to do it, it's certainly doable. If you got the material to work with, that's doable.
Yeah, but you got to have the knowledge and the material. And the material in this case is actually there in the New Paths Live workshop. I mean, there's a good blueprint right there how to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
You combine that with a few other works, and you maybe spend, $300-400 on material, and you got something you can work for the rest of your life.
Oh, that's very true. Yeah, that's very true. You can, it's strong enough,
Yeah, I mean that's an act that you can literally combine it with a couple other things, some other people's red light seance work, and maybe put in a few subtleties from that, mix it all together, and you're on the road doing spiritualist camps and psychic fairs and.
No reason why not. But if you're interested in that, that's certainly a way to do it.
Definitely a way to do it. It's a great piece. Can't really stress that enough. Because I don't know if a lot of these guys understand what we're actually talking about.
Well, once you've run through the past life stuff a few times and you know what's going on and how to guide on that, the experience that they have with that is just mind-blowing. And that's going to get you a reputation just from the first time you do it. It's going to get a reputation from doing that.
Yeah, it's really amazing stuff. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah,
we do some past life workshops and stuff from time to time, and they kill. I mean, it's one of those things you can work for. I can work that thing in a free venue and put out a love basket and make good money.
Yeah, yeah.
It's one of those. I mean, those are rare. I'm telling you, it'd be some of the best $45 you spend in a while.
I hope.
And if you understand what I know, that's yeah. Robert, are you there?
Yeah,
calling Robert Marcy. You got any questions for Tom?
Not really, because I just enjoyed listening to everything that Tom was talking about.
Well, it's interesting and fun. I tell you, you don't have to. I like variety performances for performers and performances because I like the variety part of it. You don't have to do one thing all your life, And if you know how to read, you can read anything. It doesn't have to be tarot. If you know how to do, talk to people, you can do, your psychic here or this or whatever your mitox is. You can see past lives or see into the future or whatever it is, you're doing. I love the idea of being able to do a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Now, Robert, is the astrology wheel thing?
Mm-hmm.
You can work that at the dinner theater. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you could change it up a little bit and work it right at a dinner theater, right in the middle of your act. Whereas a separate act altogether.
Astrology is my thing.
Really?
And they would eat it. They would eat it up. Yeah.
Did you see any photos of the wheel?
No, I have not.
This was I think it was a Rosicrucian wheel that I did up, and it's got all your astrology stuff. So no matter how much like I said before, no matter how much you know or how little you know, you can use the wheel as a cheat sheet. Plus, it looks great. If you go on my Facebook page, dig through those albums, you'll see pictures of it. Plus some early pictures of me being 30, me being 40 when I was doing it. You get the idea of easy setup, easy do, and it's a magnet. The wheel itself, that is a beautiful piece, the prop, and it's just a magnet for people. And anybody with an inclination to the psychic or the mysterious or the bizarre or anything else, if they're in a banquet or any kind of convention, they're going to gravitate right toward it because it's something they recognize and they're interested in it. So it's, like I said, it's a magnet. You might like it a lot. Check it out.
Check it out, baby.
And it's easy to make in any way, shape, or form. So
yeah. And a lot of your props are easy to make. I mean, they can be made in slightly varying sizes and
that's got to be. That's one of the. Boy, if you're working fairs, you got to be able to, take it apart, put it together again, find a replacement piece or part. I'm for easy. I'm for do-it-yourself easy. Yeah.
Because you and I both know things break all the time, and you got to be able to repair the stuff on the road, and it's got to be durable to begin with, but it's got to be easy to fix if you need to.
Yeah, I've always designed so that I didn't have any brackets or anything like that. I've got 2 hinges on one piece on one big stage, and that's it. And the rest of it's all nothing breaks, nothing.
Yeah.
No pieces and parts to leave behind, that type of thing.
And then working as much as you do, some stuff will just wear out over time. You got to repair it, but that's that's pretty common.
You do it in the afternoon, and you repaint it, and you slap it in there, and you're good to go until you can do a decent job of it. Too much fun.
So is there anything else you want to add to our listeners?
I don't think so. This has been interesting. It's been a lot of fun. Get out there, keep cranking. Everything's changing, and we're all of us who do this type of thing are all kind of Americana on the hoof. So keep in mind who and what you are. This may not all be around for. This type of thing might not all be around for a long time or in the future. So we might be the last ones stomping the boards at fairgrounds or who knows. So keep cranking.
But at least we've got to record some of the knowledge of that genre tonight, so I think it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, you're doing good work.
Because that's we got to pass this stuff on. It has to happen.
Well, that's it. You have to be kind to future historians, and if you don't write it down, they're not going to know. So write it down or take the pictures or pile them up by the thousands on Facebook. Who cares? Let them sort it out later, but it's got to be recorded or they got nothing. So,
right, and then they start making up pseudo-facts, and none of it makes any sense.
Write it down, take pictures, make booklets, make pamphlets, keep it going, keep it cranking.
Yeah, and we're really just, a magician when they publish their facts. One, they're publishing their facts, but more or less, they are just a historian publishing their autobiography of this stuff, in a way.
Yeah, their own stories and everything, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a book from Vinnie Gallo, I think it's pronounced that right, the guy we saw in Vegas, lecture. He just talks about stories of him meeting other performers, over the road and stuff, and it's great. It's just great anecdotes and stories and just crazy stuff. Just lovely. But that's where, because magic really is just a story between two people. That's, when you look at magic, what magic is a story with two people with some visual aids, and, there's an interaction there. It's got to go back to being a social art.
Be kind to future historians. Write it down. Write it down.
Yeah.
Tom, I do have a question. From your perspective, where do you see the whole field of mentalism, bizarre magic, and let's just say the metaphysical? Where do you see it heading in the next foreseeable future?
I think that you probably are going to need to divorce magic and mentalism from the psychic. I think that there are two different fields, and probably should be, although they blend, the edges blend. The YouTube and all that business is real hard on mentalism because it's tricks that they can look up and and know about. The psychic part, there are no secrets to that, so they can't expose any. They just, at best, they can go do them and duplicate them, and be that. But I think that there's going to be a new religion coming, swooping in probably 10 or 15 years, and probably or sooner than that. And it will probably be an apocalyptic religion, because that's the one that will get everybody's attention. And I think that everybody psychic-wise is going to have to deal with that. And who knows? It may be politically that it won't be politically correct to do any kind of psychic work ever. Period. But who knows? We don't know. Wrong people get in charge, and all of a sudden the wrong things start happening as laws. So we might be stuck with that for a while.
Right, because I remember hearing Bob Cassidy, which kind of made me think about it, is that, he said that as technology advances, it's going to possibly make mentalism moot in the future, with all these devices now that supposedly can read minds and things of that nature. So I don't know.
We'll have to be able to do stuff that can't be done by science, or else there's no magic to it.
Right.
If it can be done, there's a way to do it. If you know how it's done in science, and if you don't know how it's done, it's magic. So our problems in the future are going to be able to invent new things that they don't know how it's done. So it has to be new effects that are going to keep mentalists in business. Otherwise, like you said, it's all moot,
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting times.
Yeah. Strange. We live in interesting times.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So this is
I think
I really like this. This has been excellent.
It's been a blast. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
You don't have anything, Robert? And Tom, if you don't have anything, let's go ahead and wrap this up for this episode of the Psicast.
Sounds good. It was a pleasure, gentlemen. I'm honored and humbled even to be sitting here for an hour talking about myself. Don't get better than that. I had a big bottle of gin nearby.
Tom, the pleasure is all ours. So.
Fantastic.
And thank you.
We'll get together sometime.
Absolutely. We'll have to do another one in the future. Sounds
good. Sounds great.
All right.
Well, you're doing good work, that's for sure. We need it, so have at it.
Well, thank you. And that wraps up this episode of Psicast, and join us next week when me and Bill will be going into some new products and hopefully potentially get a new guest on. So we're working on that. So we will see you guys later.